Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. And I hope that you enjoyed that wonderful rendition of Amazing Grace for Oregon that we just heard, which was recorded specially for this evening's gala by Olena Matyluk in Lviv. I'm Kathy Nalevaiko, president of the Ukrainian Institute of America, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to tonight's gala live from the Institute. Whether you're joining us virtually or whether you're one of the limited number of guests with us here in the building this evening, it would be hard to escape the obvious, which is that this gala looks and feels a bit different from previous galas. People aren't crowding the halls and rooms of the Institute, greeting each other, mingling, chatting, toasting, patting each other on the back. It's still relatively quiet in here, in spite of the group that we have gathered. Around the world, we have all had to make significant adjustments to the way that we live, work, communicate, survive, and thrive. COVID has had and will continue to have an indelible effect on all of us. But in the meantime, we continue to adapt and learn and innovate because we are resilient and we are strong, and because, of course, the show and life must go on. Although the pandemic forced us to shut our doors in March here at the Ukrainian Institute, thanks to the creativity and hard work of our staff, our board, and the extended community of artists with whom we collaborate globally, the Institute was able to shift almost immediately to a virtual format. As a result, and because of the generous and steadfast support of our members and donors, we were able to continue providing joy and inspiration to our members and constituents through our online music, art, and educational programs without skipping a beat. While we all await the time that we can be in the same physical room, we are grateful for the opportunity to have the tools and the financial support to reach you virtually. Many thanks to all of tonight's donors and supporters for opening up their hearts and for supporting to tonight's fundraiser so enthusiastically. Your generosity will allow the Institute to continue to fill our mission of showcasing Ukrainian excellence, the very, very best of Ukrainian arts and culture to the entire world. Tonight's program will give you a glimpse into the depth and breadth of our reach. Hopefully, you'll discover some pleasant surprises about our initiatives and our collaborations. So for the next hour or so, I hope that you enjoy the program we've created for you, at the end of which I trust you will have been entertained, educated, but mostly inspired. And if you are inspired, there's still time for you to help us reach our goal of raising $72,000 on the occasion of our 72nd anniversary this evening. We're close, but not quite there. So there are a number of ways that you can donate and to help support the Institute further. One of those ways is that you can text your donations to the following number, 202-858-1233. And all you have to do is text 2020 GALA to 202-858-1233. We'll be giving you updates throughout the evening to let you know how close we are to reaching our goal. And I hope that you all open your hearts and wallets as the evening progresses. As all of you know, tonight's gala honors all Ukrainian medical personnel and first responders. These individuals from our community work tirelessly and selflessly, day in and day out, pandemic or not, putting their own lives at risk to help save the lives of others. On behalf of our organization and the entire community, we thank all of them for their incredible contributions in providing us with guidance, in caring for us when we're sick, and in working to keep us safe while we collectively move through this pandemic. So it is with great pleasure that I now turn the floor over to Dr. Petra Lanshud, who is the president of the Ukrainian Medical Association of North America. Petra.
Dear President of the Institute and dear friends, on behalf of the Ukrainian Medical Association of North America, I would like to congratulate the Institute on successful 2020 virtual gala. As the president of the Ukrainian Medical Association of North America, I am pleased that this virtual gala is honoring all Ukrainian medical personnel and first responders. I would like to take this opportunity to thank from the bottom of my heart all medical personnel throughout the United States and Canada for their service and dedication to the medical profession. Our frontline workers, doctors, nurses, and medical professionals worked and continue to work tirelessly, sparing no knowledge, time, and medical expertise in fighting the coronavirus pandemic COVID-19. I would like to remind you that Ukrainian Medical Association of North America was established in New York City in 1950. This year, we are celebrating our 70th anniversary of our medical association in North America. The Ukrainian Medical Association of North America has been and remains the largest continuously active Ukrainian medical professional organization in existence. UMANA has maintained a steadfast course since 1950, with no interruption of service to its members throughout its existence. UMANA's founding fathers hoped, but certainly could not imagine, that their fledgling group would not only survive the formative years, the Cold War, the collapse of the USSR, and the turbulent independence of Ukraine, but would continue to function and grow well into the new millennium. UMANA continues to evolve, responding to changes in medical demographics. The board of directors is now elected from candidates spanning across North America, and membership has been expanded to include affiliated healthcare professionals. Throughout its existence, the Ukrainian Medical Association of North America has been closely intertwined with the Ukrainian Institute of America. Many of our members have been and are currently on the board of directors of the Ukrainian Institute of America. Recently, our distinguished member, Dr. Danielle Swistel, served tirelessly as president of the Institute for a decade. As both organizations continue to coexist and cooperate with one another, I am confident in our continued success together, and I'm excited for what the future holds. On behalf of the Ukrainian Medical Association of North America, I would like to wish the Ukrainian Institute of America, its board of directors and president, Kathy Nalivaiko, continued success in leading this organization to new heights and achievements, despite the challenges we face during these unprecedented times. And now, please continue to enjoy this wonderful virtual gala and entertainment program, and let us celebrate together and honor members of both successful organizations. Thank you and дякую.
Вітаю! I'm Solomia Bahiv, violinist and artistic director of music at the Institute Concert Series. We have a very exciting program prepared for you this evening, featuring musicians covering both continents, from Lviv to Denver. In its 32nd season, Music at the Institute, MATI, is a vital program of the Ukrainian Institute of America. MATI produces children and educational programs, has commissioned new pieces from Ukrainian composers, and promotes music of the Ukrainian diaspora. At the end of our program, you will see a slideshow and hear a work called Remembrance by diaspora composer Osip Zaleski. This season, MATI will continue bringing the joy of music, but in a hybrid format. On November 7th, please join us in front of your computer or here at the Institute. We will accommodate an audience of 20 people for a program dedicated to the victims of COVID-19. We will feature students and alumni of Yale University and the University of Connecticut, as well as the Deputy Dean of Yale, violinist and pianist Melvin Chen, performing music of Skorik, Bach, and Piazzolla. Over the course of 32 years, MATI has been a platform for over 200 musicians from Ukraine. The famous and the famous to be one day have been featured here at the Institute, in the heart of the cultural capital of the world, New York City. An important aspect of Mati is that Music at the Institute introduces Ukrainian music and Ukrainian composers to the artists outside of the Ukrainian community. We invite musicians from all over the globe to learn works by Ukrainian composers, to perform at UA with the expectation they will concertize it on other stages. This is how we fulfill our mission of reaching a broader audience through the universal language of understanding music. The next piece you're about to hear is Ой ти дівчино з горіха зерня by Anatol Kosanatolsky, sung by American soprano Karen Slack, who has performed in major opera houses and concert halls around the world. It is very moving to hear Karen, Philadelphia-born soprano, diva, sing this work in Ukrainian. And she will be followed by the renowned Ukrainian composer Yevhen Stankovich, whose work Angel's Touch was commissioned by the Ukrainian Institute of America to commemorate 25th anniversary of Mati series. Please enjoy.
Хочу передати щире вітання всім і сказати, що я щасливий з того, що мені на протязі багатьох років вдається відвідувати Український інститут в Нью-Йорку. Я вважаю цей інститут надзвичайно важливим, не тільки з приводу того, що знайомить з українською культурою великий американський народ. Але це дуже важливий інститут для українських митців. Я думаю, що мене всі підтримують ті мої колеги, які відвідували цей інститут. Я дуже вдячний керівникам інституту, які виконують нашу музику українську, в тому числі і мене, де виконувалися прекрасний виконавець Соломія Івахів, яка виконувала мої твори і в Карнегі Холл, і в авторських концертах. Я думаю, що я не один такий. І я думаю, що всі приєднаються до моїх слів І я ще хочу додати, що це не тільки культурний центр, це дуже важливо, грає дипломатичний зв'язок між Україною і Америкою, особливо в нас буремний час.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Luperi, and I am a clarinetist with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. I have had the pleasure of performing at the Ukrainian Institute in its chamber music series on more than one occasion, and would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the members and the board of directors on the occasion of your annual gala. I would also like to recognize the wonderful work that you do to promote cultural understanding and friendship through the universal language of the arts. I hope you have a wonderful gala, and I wish you a good night.
The Ukrainian Music Institute extends its congratulations to the Ukrainian Institute of America upon the occasion of its 72nd anniversary. The Ukrainian Music Institute is grateful for the opportunity to present special concerts in your beautiful venue. I encourage all of you to also care for the musical education of young people at the Ukrainian Music Institute, which nurtures the heritage and development of Ukrainian classical and folk music. May God bless you in continuing your endeavors for the benefit of the Ukrainian community. Respectfully yours, Maria Lonchina-Lisowski, President.
Вітання! I'm Igor Leshishin, Principal Oboist of the Washington National Opera at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. I had a fantastic opportunity to give North America premiere of Miroslav Skorek's Concerto for Oboe and Strings that I commissioned from the composer. Thank you, Ukrainian Institute of America, for giving us, Ukrainian artists, a platform to showcase rich Ukrainian culture here in North America. And congratulations of 2020 Gala. Mnoga elita!
I hope that you all enjoyed this beautiful music pieces and the greetings from our friends. Now, it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to Ambassador Serhiy Kislytsia, and then to Consul General Alexei Holubov, and that will be followed by a special musical guest, and we can talk about that afterwards.
Dear friends, it's my pleasure to join, although virtually, the celebration of the 72nd anniversary of the Ukrainian Institute of America. As an ambassador of Ukraine to the United Nations, I cannot but note that the Institute and the UN are almost of the same age. The Institute, in fact, enjoys the longer history of settling in Manhattan. We appreciate that the noble mission of the Institute has always combined both promoting the rich historical background of Ukraine and serving as a beacon of forward-looking vision in the Ukrainian culture. By the way, this is one of many institutes' obvious advantages over its neighbor across the Fifth Avenue. These contributed to world's positive perception of Ukraine and Ukrainians and turning points of our history, the 1991 independence and 2014 revolution of dignity. It is of utmost importance now, in the times of the Russian armed aggression, to show that Ukrainians remain the nation of inspiring artists and cultural trendsetters. Their contribution enriches the world heritage, and this is one of many reasons why Ukraine deserves support from the civilized world. We are grateful to the Institute for keeping its doors open for the Ukrainian mission, and we keep ours open as well. We are interested in continued cooperation, including in the area of culture. I believe that challenging times of COVID-19 would not be an obstacle for us. I find it to be a strong message of support that today's event aims also at honoring all Ukrainian medical personnel. I wish the Ukrainian Institute of America to further strengthen its valuable role in promoting Ukraine and making it more interesting for American people. I thank you very much for many decades of dedicated work, and I wish you more of the success in the future. And in the meantime, stay all safe and sound. Thank you.
Madam President Naливайко, distinguished board members, ladies and gentlemen, шановна українська громада. It is my great privilege to extend on behalf of the Consulate General of Ukraine in New York our greetings to all participants of the Ukrainian Institute of America Virtual 2020 Gala, honoring Ukrainian medical professionals and to congratulate the Institute with its 72nd anniversary. Over the years, the Institute leadership, members, supporters and friends, you all have consistently been implementing the vision of the UIA founder, Honorable William Juice, and safeguarding the Institute's status as America's window on Ukraine. We, the Ukrainian Consulate General, are truly heartened by traditionally warm and fruitful cooperation with the Institute, and looking very much forward to further strengthening our partnership. We wish the Institute good luck in all your activities, health and well-being to the Gala participants and your families. Today, I'm also honored to deliver the welcoming remarks addressed by the Ambassador of Ukraine to the United States, His Excellency Volodymyr Yelchenko, to the participants of the UIA Gala 2020. Dear representatives of Ukrainian community, dear American friends, it is my pleasure to welcome such a distinguished audience on the occasion of Ukrainian Institute of America Virtual 2020 Gala. I would like to take this opportunity to celebrate once again the hard work that the UIA has been carrying out for more than 70 years, carefully preserving and spreading Ukrainian language, traditions, and culture in the United States. All of you are not only great admirers and carriers of vibrant and diverse Ukrainian culture, but also professionals who keep love for both Ukraine and the United States of America in your hearts. During this difficult and strange pandemic year, which changed the habitual way of our life, I would like to wish you to stay healthy and wealthy, as well as have a great success in your noble work. Sincerely, Володимир Єльченко. Я щиро приєднуюсь до привітань посла Володимира Єльченка та бажаю всім учасникам сьогоднішнього заходу здоров'я, мира та доброї вдачі. Дякую за вашу увагу.
Привіт, мене звати Оксана Муха. Я звертаюся зараз до всіх, хто, можливо, присутній на чудовій події, онлайн-події, яка є для того, щоб підтримати Український інститут Америки. Я тішуся, що навіть за далеким океаном частинка України зберігається. І для вас вона є однозначно дуже важливою. Прийшов час підтримати інститут, допомогти всіма можливими силами. Я вам буду за це дуже вдячна. І надсилаю вам чудовий музичний дарунок з мого рідного Львова. Володимир Івасюк «Я піду в далекі гори». Пісня, яка у всьому світі об'єднує українців. Співаючи її, ми відчуваємо надзвичайну радість в душі. Тому для вас сьогодні «Я піду в далекі гори». Я піду в далекі гори, на широкі полонини, і попрошу вітру з ворів, аби він не спав до днини, щоб летів на вільних крилах, на Кичери і Діброви, і дізнавсь, де моя мила, карі очі, чорні брови. Мила моя, люба моя, світ ясен світ. Я несу в очах до тебе весь блакитний світ. Я несу любов зажуру, мрію молоду. І цвітуть сади для мене, як до тебе йду. А як вітер з полонини полетіти не захоче, все одно знайду дівчину, чорні брови, карі очі. Перейду я бистрі ріки і Бескиди, і Діброви, і шляхи мені покажуть карі очі, чорні брови. Мила моя, люба моя, світ ясен цвіт. Я несу в очах до тебе весь блакитний світ. Я несу любов зажуру, мрію молоду. І цвітуть сади для мене, як до тебе йду. Нада, 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 нада.
We promised you great music prepared just for you, especially for this gala, by musicians from North America and Europe. Oksana Mucha, who we just heard, is a household name here and in Ukraine. In 2011, she won a grand prize of the international festival named after Kvitka Tsisek, and rightfully so, as Oksana's voice and style very much resemble of our own late Kvitka Tsisek. A husband-wife duo from Lviv Philharmonic, Igor and Olena Matselyuk, will perform an arrangement of Skorok Melodia for an unusual combination of instruments, organ and pan flute. And at the end of our program, you will enjoy a performance by Natalia and Claude Sim from Denver, performing Piazzolla Tango. But first, a few words from Ukrainian Canadian award-winning cellist Roman Boris and Dr. Lyubomir Lutyuk, Chair of the Ukrainian Studies at the University of Toronto.
Hello, Привit. My name is Roman Boris. I am a cellist, a producer, and artistic director. And on the occasion of the Ukrainian Institute of America's 2020 virtual gala, I send greetings from Toronto, Canada. Over the years, my Griffin Trio colleagues and I have been very honored to accept invitations from MATI director Solomia Ivahiu to perform at the Institute. The opportunity to showcase commissioned works by Yevhen Stankovich, Valentin Silvestrov, Bohdana Frolyak, and Miroslav Skorik in the glorious setting of your historic venue situated in the heart of one of the world's great cultural capitals has further reinforced the position that these wonderful Ukrainian artists hold amongst the world's most esteemed composers. Serving as a beacon for Ukrainian culture past and present, the UIA's commitment to celebrate and support the work of artists from Ukraine and the Ukrainian diaspora is as inspired in its mission as it is brilliant in its execution. I congratulate the board, the administration, my colleague Dr. Ivahiu for all the amazing work you've been doing over the years. I commend you for the programming that you've continued to do safely during this pandemic, and I very much look forward to witnessing your continued success in the future. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you.
Добрый день. Good day. On behalf of Catherine Wolk and myself, Lyubomir Lutyuk, I'd like to offer our congratulations to the Ukrainian Institute of America on its 72nd anniversary. We're sorry we can't be there for the gala event. That said, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Ukrainian Institute of America for some of the very important work it's doing. In September of 2018, the Ukrainian Canadian Civil Liberties Foundation and our supporters were given permission to unveil the world's first and only multilingual, that is English, Ukrainian, Hebrew, and Yiddish plaque honoring Dr. Raphael Lemkin, the father of the UN Genocide Convention, the man who in 1953 described the Great Famine of 1932-33 in Soviet Ukraine as what it was, a genocide. More recently, I was in New York City at a conference hosted by the Institute reflecting on the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. And I spoke about Ukrainian Canadians in the Canadian Armed Forces, the men and the women who went overseas during the war, served honorably, sacrificed for their country and for freedom, and after the war helped rescue tens of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, displaced persons, and victims of the war from forcible repatriation to the Soviet Union. They were the heroes of their day, and it was fitting that we would commemorate them. So tonight, I'd like to pay my deepest respects to the staff and board of directors of the Ukrainian Institute of America. You do remarkably important work. Thank you for your support. We look forward to working with you again in future.
Greetings from the ancient city of Lviv, the heart of Western Ukraine. And welcome to our brief presentation featuring two related instruments, the organ and the pan flute. Nowadays, the melody by Miroslav Skorik is a veritable visiting card of Ukrainian music culture. And our performance will be featuring again the pan flute and the organ.
thank you very much to the Matseliuks for such a lovely rendition of Melodia. I hope that you all enjoyed it as much as I did, and all of us here at the Institute this evening. I have gotten a couple of texts actually during the last segment to remind me to tell everybody how they can donate by text. So thank you for those reminders to those of you out there in the audience. So all you need to do is text 2020 GALA 2020 Gala to the following number 202-858-1233. 202-858-1233. And thank you so much for your continued interest in supporting the Institute's Gala. Next up, we have a couple of friends that wanted to share some greetings with us. The first of whom is Alexander Davis, the great-grandson of our founder, William Juice. I had the great pleasure of recently meeting Alex and having the ability to spend some time with him, and it was a really, really special opportunity and experience, because the amount of pride and connection that our founder's family, even generations later, feels to this organization is extremely uplifting and heartening. We also have a couple of other friends that wanted to share their greetings with us, and then we'll hear a word from one of our Trailblazer sponsors.
Hi, I'm Alexander Davis, a great-grandson of William Juice, founder of the Ukrainian Institute. Well, it's an honor to be here at the Institute. I haven't been here since 1988. It's beautiful. I'm so glad that the Institute's here to serve as a place to display the works of Ukrainian artists and to serve the Ukrainian community. You know, none of this would be possible without the foresight of my grandfather, my great-grandfather, to create the Institute, and also with the support of people like you, donating to the Institute and being involved. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
72 years of promoting the rich Ukrainian heritage in New York's mosaic of multicultures. What an accomplishment, and we, the Ukrainian National Museum of Chicago, salute you on your ability to sustain the Fletcher Sinclair Mansion, the Ukrainian Institute of America, and its many cultural achievements promoting Ukraine and the attributes of the Ukrainian diaspora. Through magnificent art, educational programs, musical and literary evenings, but most important, one program, Window on Ukraine, which you so graciously shared with us. We are extremely grateful to you. In April of 2019, several members of the Ukrainian National Museum attended the opening of the Ivan Marchuk exhibit. What an awesome event. And later that year in June, we hosted Ivan Marchuk and his artwork. The paintings are still hanging in our museum, so if you're in Chicago, you're welcome to come to the Ukrainian National Museum. Whether you're in New York or Chicago, you will always have the ability to learn about the Ukrainian culture through various forms of art, arousing your senses of sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste. Each one of us does it in our own desirable way. Today, we celebrate the Institute of America, the Ukrainian Institute of America. We wish you a happy 72nd anniversary. Imnoha Yalita.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Rice, and I'm the director of Ensemble Origo. We are an early music ensemble based in Connecticut, and we've had the privilege of performing at the Ukrainian Institute of America twice. Once in 2016, presenting music of Duletsky, and once in 2018, presenting a reconstruction of a Martin Luther Mass. The Ukrainian Institute is such an impressive institution, showing us the wonders of Ukrainian culture and really expressing the unity of the Ukrainian diaspora in America. Please help support your Ukrainian Institute this year. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alexa Chapivsky, and I bring greetings to all the members of the Ukrainian Institute of America from our family. We are honored to be a part of this evening and the Institute, a unique, valuable organization with an important history of showcasing Ukrainian culture and traditions to our American neighbors. I'd like to express our gratitude to the management, staff, and board of the Institute, led by our deeply dedicated president, Kathy Nalivaiko, who has done an outstanding job of navigating this institution through the challenges of COVID that dropped on us out of the blue. In the face of terminated live visits, evaporated rental income, and loss of contact with members, their response was immediate, decisive, and effective. To continue the delivery of cultural programs, Alla and Kathy came up with the Stay Connected With Us program, which has been a huge success and promises to be a permanent offering of the Institute. They applied for and obtained a substantial COVID support grant. They worked out an arrangement to help a prestigious private school continue its educational program and at the same time bring the Institute much needed income. Under trying circumstances, Kathy and her team have succeeded in continuing the Institute's outreach mission and ensuring its financial viability. I'd like to express our best wishes for a bright future for the Institute and expanding its mission of bringing Ukraine to the world.
Thank you very much, Alexa, for those very, very kind words and for all of those wonderful sentiments. I have to say that, the credit definitely goes to the team here. As the old saying goes, there's no I in team. And really, the team here at the Ukrainian Institute on the ground, online every single day, working on behalf of this organization and all of its members and all of its donors are Olena Sidlovich, Jasper Santa Anna, Lesya Yurchishin, Oksana Pidhoretska, and of course our fabulous director of Mati Music at the Institute, Solomia Ivakiou. And of course, we also have to give a lot of credit and gratitude and thanks to Dr. Vava Hoydish, who runs our Art at the Institute program. All of these people have been working tirelessly to make sure that we can continue to inspire you and continue to fill your souls with joy at a challenging time for all. So thank you again. Again, the credit goes to everybody here, including the board of directors. We are about to enter another phase of this evening's program, which I would consider the real highlight, which will be a fireside chat with our prominent guest, Dr. Boris Lushniak. He is a very prominent member of the Ukrainian community, of the American community, Dean and Professor of the University of Maryland School of Public Health, former acting US Surgeon General, former Deputy Surgeon General, and someone who is going to spend a little bit of time with us this evening during a fireside chat with UIA board member Adya Melnik-Kankevich, answering some questions about some of the things we need to think about in terms of COVID in the coming months going forward, maybe focusing on a lot of the progress that we've made, which is often easy to forget about, and hopefully arming you with some solutions for the next months going forward. But first, we're going to take a very, very short break to acknowledge all of our donors and sponsors and supporters for this evening's program. And then we will then cut to Dr. Lushniak and to Adya Melnik-Kankevich.
Good evening, everybody. I hope that you've been enjoying the beautiful music and the inspirational words of support from our friends around the globe. And now, as Kathy mentioned, we are going to shift gears. And Dr. Lushniak, we're so pleased to have you here with us this evening. It's such an honor, and I know that many people have been waiting to hear your words of wisdom. So, you know, I'd like to begin. I think some people who are our guests this evening are familiar with your background, but I'd like to begin by asking you to please tell us a little bit about how your past experiences as an officer in the U.S. Public Health Service have really helped to inform your perspectives on the pandemic and have helped to inform some of what you'll be sharing with us this evening.
Well, thank you so much, Adya, and thank you so much to the Institute for having me on here tonight. It's actually a perfect time for us to have this interdisciplinary approach to this evening. We have the arts and we have the art and sciences, right, combined. So as already mentioned, I spent around 27 years wearing a uniform of the United States, the uniform of the United States Public Health Service, 16 of those years in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. You've heard of that without a doubt. And then 6 years at the Food and Drug Administration, where I actually worked in the realm of counterterrorism and emerging threats, dealing with a previous pandemic 10 years ago, and then switched over to the Office of the U.S. Surgeon General. And during that time span, have been a responder to multiple public health crises, everything from the war in Kosovo to the World Trade Center site in New York City, to the anthrax attacks, to Hurricane Katrina, and to Ebola in Western Africa. And when I look back at that career, we look at the current pandemic as what? As the biggest thing to hit us from a public health perspective in the century. We have to go back to 1918, 1919, what was incorrectly deemed the Spanish influenza, to actually go back in that time period and look at something that affected humankind as much as we see right now. And so therefore, I enter this whole phase, and I enter tonight's little fireside chat with a realization that this is real, that this has its severe repercussions. But also, Adya, I enter here with the optimism of kind of turning this around and saying, in the last 9-10 months since all this started, we have made incredible progress, and we will persevere. We have to get our act together as a nation, and I'm being apolitical here. I'm speaking as a public health person, but we have to begin to do things right. Certainly globally, we're seeing resurgences all over, and we have to brace ourselves for what is going to be a difficult rest of the fall and winter ahead of us.
Thank you, and I think we can talk about that a little bit more later on, but thank you for that. So as you said, we're now 7, 8, 9 months into the pandemic and dealing with it here in the United States. And I think many people would be interested to know from your perspective, what are some of the major things that we've learned during this time? And where do you see some of our most important advances happening in terms of managing and containing this global pandemic?
Well, first of all, let's all recall, and this is an easy exercise we all can go through. I want everybody in our audience, and first of all, thank you to everyone who is out there supporting the Institute tonight on the 72nd anniversary of its founding, Mnoha Elita. But let's all recall, what were you doing on New Year's Eve, 2019 going into 2020? Close your eyes, right, and think back, because that's a simple exercise. We are either all going out and celebrating, perhaps staying in. That's a point in time that's critical for this pandemic, because on December 31st, 2019 is when the World Health Organization office in China was first informed of an outbreak of an unknown illness in a small number of people, right? That's the beginning point. And what we have is since then, right? That's the point. The point is December 31st till now, there's been incredible achievements. We've never had a pandemic like this combined with the medical science and expertise that we have right now. I'm going to give you just a short timeline. Within a week or so of that announcement of the World Health Organization office, we've discovered a brand new novel virus, right? It's a virus called SARS-CoV-2. which causes COVID-19. Within a few days after that, we had the whole genome mapped out. We've had this incredible progress worldwide of vaccine development. We've had incredible progress looking at a variety of potential therapeutics. Now, thus far, we still have work ahead of us, right? There's been no panacea. There's been no cure. There's been no final vaccine. And yet what we have seen is incredible progress for us to be looking at pathways ahead of us. So I would say vaccine development is certainly big. It's not going to be done by the time of the election comes around. We're going to be lucky if it's completed by the beginning of 2021. Certainly by mid-2021, we'll start seeing vaccines available. And I think that is a turning point for us. What we still have to do, obviously, is have to follow the public health recommendations until that point in time.
Okay, thank you. So, speaking of the vaccine, a very recent Harris Poll survey found that the share of Americans that would actually be willing to take the vaccine has dropped as of late. And so, I'm interested to know, what would your recommendation be to this audience with regard to a vaccine once it does come out, and why? And the second part of the question is, what are some of the questions that people should be asking in advance of getting the vaccine once it becomes available?
Well, I think everyone needs to have some faith in the Food and Drug Administration and its system, right? There's been attempts of politicizing both the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as well as the Food and Drug Administration. I spent, as I mentioned, 6 years working in the Office of Counterterrorism and Emerging Threats. Part of what we worked on when I was at the FDA was on emergency use authorization. And I have a knowledge base of how approval processes go. We've been assured right now by the Food and Drug Administration that there'll be no shortcuts taken, that two important parameters are going to be assured from a vaccine. One is efficacy. Does it work? The second is safety. Does it do no harm? So if and when a vaccine is finally licensed by the Food and Drug Administration, I'll have confidence that the information will be out there that we can proceed. Certainly, we have always a problem with vaccine hesitancy, with doubts about vaccine. There's always been a movement out there. My belief in the system is such that science-based information will get us to where we need to be. Again, it may not happen now. It'll take a little while, but at some point, we are going to have the data to be able to make the right decisions.
Okay, thank you. I think that's some very cheerful and optimistic news for our guest this evening. So, also related to the vaccine, there is the issue of the virus mutating. And I think many people read, lay people tend to read a lot and not really understand the repercussions of something like that happening. And so if you could just talk a little bit about what that would mean for the vaccine once it does become available.
Yeah, it's very critical people understand that viruses always have changes in their genomes, right? And so there are many mutations going on all the time. I think a critical piece here, it doesn't drastically change the virus from one thing to another. What we're able to use the mutations as right now is almost as a fingerprint. We know that mutations came through Europe, so we're able to fingerprint certain viruses that are here that came from the European theater as opposed directly from Asia. In England, they're using mutations actually to be able to trace the source of outbreaks. Fascinating work. We're not even doing that in the United States. But in terms of massive shifts in the virus itself, we're not seeing that. And the massive shifts that I want people not to worry about is somehow that a shift will occur that makes either therapeutics that we have developed out there incapable of solving the issue, or that somehow make our vaccines less likely to work. I don't see that happening, right? We usually see that happen early on, right? At some point, the SARS-CoV-2 virus did come from the animal world. That was a massive shift, right? We know about coronaviruses. A lot of them are in the animal world. We have a concept in public health now called the One Health concept. And in fact, it's sort of the environmentalist viewpoint of the world, right? I, as a human, am connected with the animal world, and the animal world is connected with the planet, with the environment. That triangulation deals with the health of our whole society. And I think those shifts, those mutations happened early on as SARS-CoV-2 switched from being an animal disease to a human disease. I don't see massive shifts happening in the near future.
Okay, thank you. I was planning to save this question for later, but since you brought up the issue of viruses moving from animals to humans, or we heard very much in the beginning about the possibility of this being a lab-created virus, and that's sort of quieted down, I think, as the months have gone on, because people have shifted attention to what is actually happening around them. But I think, for many people, it still remains interesting how epidemiologists are able to ascertain the difference between a man-made virus and a naturally occurring one.
Yeah, and sometimes that's very difficult to do, right? So when people ask me the question, where did this come from, right? We initially pointed to a specific marketplace, right? In Wuhan, right? In China, in the city. And yet now the information is, well, that might have just been a place where this virus was occurring, but not necessarily its source. Very difficult to determine sources, right? And I've heard all the conspiracy theories as well, that nearby Wuhan was a laboratory, could have released something. Right now, we don't have any of that information that points towards a smoking gun, right? In fact, when we've seen previous pandemics, what we've seen is that connectiveness between, as I mentioned, the animal world and the human world. And these shifts have occurred. Every other pandemic that we've had in the 20th century, and we've had one in the 21st century, were all caused by influenza. That's a big game changer for us to have the first pandemic in modern times not caused by influenza. It's caused by coronavirus. So we're still learning a whole lot about this metamorphosis. And yet I don't buy the conspiracy theories.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's very, very useful and very helpful for many people to hear that perspective. So I'd like to move now a little bit more towards discussing treatments and containment strategies, because as we know, there's been a lot of discussion about things like herd immunity and containing certain neighborhoods where outbreaks are occurring. So I'd like to start first with the whole concept of herd immunity, and it's been controversial. We've seen countries like Sweden attempt it, and we've seen other countries maybe quietly attempted, but the role that it should or should not play, I think, has not been determined really in the public eye to the extent that it can and should be. And I'd like to hear from you, is it even realistic that we would achieve it, and at what cost? What are some of the downstream effects and negative repercussions to trying to achieve it?
First of all, herd immunity, very difficult to achieve. I mean, if we look at the numbers of people that would have to be infected, we'd really have to have upwards of 50 to 70% of our population to be infected before we get the concept of us all being protected because the disease is so rampant. The real pathway is not so much achieving herd immunity or not, it's what are you going to suffer getting there? Right? And we know right now that what we'd suffer is a huge number of deaths, right? The concept of herd immunity doesn't separate out those who are at higher risk of not only the severe repercussions of COVID-19, but of death from COVID-19, right? The elderly, those with multiple chronic medical conditions. In essence, if our strategy were based on herd immunity, we would, in a very meticulous fashion, in essence, say, okay, this is what we're ready to do. We're ready to sacrifice a component of our society in order to achieve herd immunity. From a medical ethics point of view, I don't see us getting there, nor do I see us getting there easily just from an epidemiological point of view. It would take so much time and so much suffering, so much breakdown of our society that approach isn't thought of as a viable approach.
Okay, and I think related to that, the role of antibodies has been also very interesting. It's sort of a step away from trying to achieve herd immunity, but if you could speak a little bit about what the current understanding is of the role of antibodies and how they play out in.
Right. I always use the term, we always use the term when it comes to SARS-CoV-2, to the virus, as a novel virus, right? That's the term we use. So I'll reemphasize, there's two definitions of the word novel. Novel, it's brand new, it's our immune system has never seen it before. Novel is also a story with twists and turns. And actually both those definitions apply. Unfortunately, this is a true story. It is non-fiction. And in this whole circumstance, we're still learning about what this disease does to us, not only the medical repercussions, the long-term health effects are still being learned about, but also how is my immune system really fighting this? Unknown. Is it lifelong immunity or short-term immunity, right? Unknown. Will antibodies actually help me? Now, we know, for example, that treatments have been based on these aspects called monoclonal antibodies. So we look at this idea of taking antibodies and saying we can put them into a human body and hopefully fight this. This is something that the president received not far away from where I'm sitting here right now at Walter Reed, just in Bethesda, Maryland. So we know we have those treatments, and yet not enough information available as to whether that is a viable treatment or not. It's still in its infancy, as is the whole answer to the question of, are we immune once we get this disease once? There have been a small number of people with the disease who have had recurrences. That concerns us. But once again, we have to look at data, and data is still being gathered.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about containment strategies. I happen to live 3 miles away from the very first containment zone in the United States, which was New Rochelle in Westchester County. And, you know, as we've seen now, the containment strategies have really sort of been escalated recently in New York City, right where we're sitting at the moment. And it would be interesting to hear your perspective on the effectiveness of these strategies. And, you know, we've seen protests resulting from them. We've seen a variety of pushback from residents and from people in these zones. But, you know, I'm not sure that we have a good understanding of the effectiveness.
Yeah, I mean, we're long beyond this idea of containment and control of this disease, right? This was something that could have been the strategy early on. We had some attempts, and the best that we did in those attempts was slow down, right, the progress of this. If you recall, early on, there had been a public health strategy called flattening the curve, right, which was, if we can contain this and control it somewhat early on, we won't have a huge number of people. And I always hesitate using the word cases, because behind every sort of, you know, case, there's actually a person, there's a family, there's a community. So when we talk about this idea of how we try to slow it down, the idea of flattening the curve was so that we didn't overwhelm the medical care system. And today's Institute Gala is dedicated to those medical care providers out there, right, who have been working relentlessly throughout this whole process, putting themselves at risk, trying to stop all this. So in essence, where are we at right now? What we have to take on right now is the idea that we are trying to prevent, we're still working on flattening the curve, trying to prevent this spread from person to person. And therefore, I appeal to everybody on this phone call today, on this webinar today, at this listening to this fireside chat today, follow the public health recommendations. The mask works, washing your hands works, and staying away from others as much as possible works. Does it bring with it a certain amount of pain and inconvenience and a breakdown of our social networks? It does. But in the long run, until we have a vaccine, that's what we're going to have to still rely on. Does it mean complete closure of our society? Not necessarily, right? What we're focused right now are stay away from large group gatherings. That's a key component.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope everybody's listening and hearing those words, because I think it's important to be reminded of that regularly. We have a crystal ball question. So if you could look into the future for a year, for 3 years, for 5 years, what are the milestones that you would see? You know, we've talked about the vaccine, and we know that's clearly a very important one to be working towards. What are some of the other societal changes? What are some of the other things that if you had a crystal ball and you would venture to guess, what are some of the things you might see?
And some of these are aspirational. I must admit that I'm a little disappointed, right, as a public health person who spent a good chunk of his career working exactly for this type of public health crisis, to see how part of the playbook, part of the ideas that we had in terms of preparation have been sort of cast aside. Number one, we have to deal with this issue we need a national strategy, period. We need to look at this as a nation. We need to be able to say to each other that mask wearing is not a political statement, but it's a way of me actually showing you that I care about you, right? It's the idea that I decrease my chance of spreading a disease which has thrown many curved balls at us, right? The number of people who are asymptomatic, who are spreaders of this disease, right? We've not seen this before with previous pandemics. So there's a lot of things that we can implement right now. So crystal ball, number one, let's develop a national strategy. Let's take this seriously. If we all began wearing masks religiously, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we can actually make a major change in this country. And this is nationwide. The idea that our holiday season coming up, yes, I'm sorry to say that it's going to be a while before we have massive concerts at the Institute, right? We're talking about 20 people at once. That's wisdom there. But the reality is that we have to be able to be resilient and change what we're doing. I am going to introduce, and I know we're almost done, but the concept of why the Institute plays a key role in the health of our society. I want to remind you that the definition of health by the World Health Organization is complete. That's a key adjective. It's aspirational, but it's complete what? Complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Think about everybody who's on today's webinar, today's gala, right? Our lives have been expanded through the social well-being that the Institute has brought us. That is a component of health. Perhaps by relaxing tonight, listening to music, to the performances, our mental well-being has gotten better, right? So the Institute is now been deputized as a component of public health. Now let's all work on the physical aspects of COVID-19. Very critical that we take this seriously.
Thank you. And, as a parting request, I think all of our guests, myself included, would really like to hear some of your suggestions to kind of keep us healthy and happy in the coming months. We've all read about the mental health implications of isolation, and for some people, it's extremely difficult for people who live alone maybe, or for people who are not as connected through social media or through internet, or the elderly part of our population. So if you could just give some concrete, helpful hints to leave our guests with this evening, we would be very.
Absolutely. And when we talk about, we started using the term social distancing much too early, and I think that was used almost incorrectly. What I'm talking about is physical distancing, right? The 6-foot rule, not being in large congregations. So first of all, as individuals, understand that there is a mental health component to any stressors, and like it or not, we're all going through that. Find something for yourself, for your family unit, for your pod, as it's called, the people you're closer together, that allows you to decompress. It could be as simple as a walk in the woods, a walk down the street, getting outside. Outside, better than inside, right? It's the idea of how do we decompress? Do we walk away from the news cycle a little bit? But regarding this physical distancing versus social distancing, realize there's people around us who are lonely, right? We know that. Let's reach out to them, right? It may not be the easiest for some of our elderly to get on a Zoom call, but an old-fashioned phone call still works. An old-fashioned letter still works. Let's be caring of the people around us. Let's really care and show love to others in the midst of this crisis. That's part of the formula of how society deals with something this big and this important.
Thank you. Well, that's terrific. That's a wonderful set of thoughts with which to leave us. And we are extremely grateful for your participation, for your time, for your wisdom, and for being with us this evening. And, we're honoring Ukrainian American medical professionals, and you clearly represent and are among the finest of those. So we are indebted to you and really are very grateful.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lushniak and Aya, for that very, very informative discussion and for the uplifting words. Up next, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to focus on the future and some of the things that we hope to see going forward. First, we'll hear from an artist whose work we plan to exhibit as soon as we are able to launch our next physical art show, Ilona Sochinska. We'll hear from another friend in the community with whom we collaborate, and then from another artist who has a special announcement to make. So on to that part of the program.
Congratulations to the Ukrainian Institute of America on its 72nd anniversary. My name is Ilona Sochinsky. My husband Petro and I are longstanding members of the UIA and have seen it go through many iterations in the past years and decades. What remains constant is its commitment to educating, entertaining, and enriching a diverse audience of Ukrainians and non-Ukrainians with its cultural programming and valuable community service. At the invitation of Walter Hoydish, Director of Art at the Institute, it's my pleasure to give you a preview of an upcoming exhibition of my artworks that will be displayed when the UIA opens again to the public. The planned exhibition consists of 2 series of recent paintings. One is a group of circular or tondo oil paintings titled Fugues, and the other a suite of smaller, intimate works on paper created in self-isolation during the ongoing pandemic titled Etudes. Art at the Institute has been a supportive platform for sharing my artwork with the UIA's broader public. It's an honor to be an active participant in its rich cultural heritage and part of a distinguished lineage of landmark exhibitions. Congratulations again, and best wishes for continued success.
Hello, my name is Dara Chumyak. I'm the president of Erasm for Ukraine. On behalf of all our volunteers, we want to say thank you and congratulations to the Ukrainian Institute of America. You've opened your doors and welcomed Erasm volunteers from pretty much the first days that there were Erasm volunteers, just 1 month after Erasm registered as an official legal entity in January of 2014. By February of 2014, we co-hosted an event together in your beautiful building. Looking forward to being able to do that again. Since then, we've put together all sorts of fantastic evenings and activities. There was the fashion show of Ira Lissa called Pantalik. There was the fundraiser for the co-pilot project for neurosurgeons, where we had a surprise drop-in guest of Slava Vakarchuk, who came by after visiting the Met. Thank you for your location. In 2018, December 2018, you created a space for people to come together and share their stories of Maidan. And this was right on the 5-year anniversary of the Revolution of Dignity. Since then, in 2019, you hosted an exhibit and a fundraiser together to support Roman Sushchenko when he was held in prison in the Russian Federation. And we've worked together on so many projects that have really created Zacharovanny Vechore, Zacharovanny Dni. And we thank you for welcoming newly active members of the Ukrainian American community to your building. And we look forward to continuing to work together to unlock the potential of Ukraine and to bring the best of Ukraine to the capital of the world, New York City. Thank you and congratulations. Дякуємо.
Hi everybody, welcome to the 2020 annual gala. I'm Oля Randyak. I am a Ukrainian American contemporary artist. I grew up in the US to Ukrainian immigrant parents, but for the bulk of the last 25 years have been living and working in Kyiv, Ukraine. A lot of my work focuses on my personal family history as well as Ukraine's history and my work as a psychotherapist. Some of my themes revolve around identity, freedom, femininity, and healing. In the spring of 2018, the Ukrainian Institute gave me the opportunity to exhibit my Identity Interrupted exhibit in their beautiful building. I've always admired and respected the Institute for all the work that they've done, and obviously it was a great honor, and it is with gratitude and respect that I would like to donate one of my most recent collage iconas to the Institute for the silent auction that will be held, I believe, in November. The icona for me is a symbol of strength and hope and believing in something greater. Slava Ukraini. I encourage all of you to donate and bid generously on the silent auction as the Institute does amazing things for our community.
Thank you very much, Ilana, Olya, and Dada for those kind words, and Olya for announcing the continuing part of our gala, which will launch sometime late next month in November. We normally have a silent auction as part of our traditional gala setup, but given all of the moving parts in organizing a virtual plus gala, we thought it best to take up the second phase a little bit later. So please stay tuned for that launch. And when it does launch, please make sure to visit the link on the website and to bid on many, many lovely items, many of which will be pieces of art, such as the beautiful icona that Olya painted especially for this auction, and many, many other things. So another way for you to support the Institute. At this time, actually, I was hoping to introduce a special guest who has graced us with his presence in the Institute this evening, but perhaps maybe next time. But I did want everybody to know that we are very honored to have as one of our guests at the Institute this evening, Oleksiy Honcharuk, the former Prime Minister of Ukraine. And at least those of us who are in the room are able to take advantage of his company and his insights. So hopefully next time he'll agree to come on camera and share some words with everybody else. So this really brings us toward the end of our program. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone who participated, all of our sponsors, our staff, our board, Solomia for doing yeoman's work in terms of getting all of the artists and marshaling those resources for us for this evening. We'll end with a couple of different things, which I'll announce, but again, hopefully everybody sees in their chat the number to text to support the gala, 202-858-1233. Text the words and numbers 2020 GALA. In particular, while we certainly are eternally grateful to all of our sponsors and all of our friends, we're particularly grateful for the support of our trailblazer sponsors, who are Self-Reliance New York Federal Credit Union, the Chapevsky family, and Mr. Charles Kupirka. So we really could not have been nearly as successful this evening without your support. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We are, I'm told, somewhere around $66,000 in terms of the money that we've raised, which is amazing, and I am thrilled. 72 was a bit of an arbitrary number just because it's our 72nd anniversary. I'm still fairly confident that we can reach that goal, because you can give after you hang up and have a couple of cocktails or drinks. So don't forget about us. That number will stay live, and there's always a million ways to support the Institute. And if you're not sure, just call the office, 212-288-8660. A couple of things in terms of logistics. Once we wrap up here, there will be a number of things still on the screen. We're going to end with a lovely musical piece, Tango by Natalia Natalia and Claude Sim. It's about 4 minutes long. We will then also show a very nice slideshow where you can see if you can spot your face, and hopefully you can, from prior events. And then those of you who did sign up for virtual rooms, hopefully you have that information, you know how to get into that virtual cocktail room / table. But if you do not, you can text me personally and I will fix it for you, hopefully. That number is 917-696-9872. Some of you have already texted me with some sort of issues along the way, so I appreciate that. You know that I'm always accessible to try to fix your problems. And I guess before I wrap up, on a personal note, I would just like to say that today would have been my dad's 86th birthday. So October 24th holds a very special place in my heart as a date. He's unfortunately not physically with us, but you know, now that we've all gotten so accustomed to connecting virtually, I'm confident that he is joining us from yet some other dimension. So in honor of my tata, I don't know, those of you, and I'm going to ask my my friends here in the studio here at the Ukrainian Institute to join me for a Borscht Martini toast to my tata, Aras Nalabaiko, who taught me the meaning of community and love and commitment and warmth and welcoming everybody. So to my tata, Aras Nalabaiko, and to all of you, thank you for joining us this evening. Please stay on and enjoy the next couple of videos. And until next time, please stay safe, be healthy, and thanks again.
Dobry den.
Вітання.
Greetings from Colorado to the members and friends of the Ukrainian Institute of America. My name is Claude Sim, Associate Concertmaster of the Colorado Symphony. Це моя дружина.
Я Наталя Сім, я є зі Львова, закінчувала Львівську консерваторію. І ось вже 20 років живу і працюю тут, у Денвері, штат Колорадо.
A few years ago, my tango ensemble Ecstasis performed our Let's Tango program at Mati, including Ukrainian tangos by Ukrainian composers. We had a wonderful time and loved meeting all of you.
We are so happy to promote Ukrainian culture here in America from West to East Coast. And we want to say congratulations on your 2020 Gala.
We'd like to offer you the following piece to celebrate the occasion. This is Astor Piazzolla's Soledad, a beautiful tango that we hope you enjoy.
До зустрічі, надіємося, що скоро побачимося.